Hello, everyone. Welcome back to day 2 with Sophia from Monograph&Co. Very excited to have just honestly pick up from where we were for yesterday, which is super exciting. But first of all, I want to introduce you back with Sophia. Sophia, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia. I own an agency called Monograph&Co, and we work with those in the hospitality, retail, and fashion industries. So you can see a lot of our work on our website. You can also see it on our Behance. If I can get to it. 1 second. Sorry, just one moment here. I'll pull this down for a bit. You can see our work on our Behance, which is over here. So check us out there. And you can also find me on Instagram at Sophia Ahamed. You can see a lot more of our work.
I love it. I love how you built your case studies. Your website's great. I love the full bleed images, but really your Behance is such a great kind of guidepost for a lot of people around how to actually structure your portfolio and how to build case studies. So I've always loved kind of scrolling through your work, and especially that Adobe Co-Create project that you did. That was super exciting. So yeah, love seeing it. I know a lot of people here are super excited. Let's run through kind of where we left off yesterday and what the kind of brief is for people who are just tuning in today for the first time.
Yeah, so we kind of went through a bit of a series to see a little bit about what 9-Bar Cafe really is. And so we went through a little bit of a deck to see the goals, the tone of voice. I'm just going through it really quick, but you can go back and take a look at this. We went through some images as well. And then we finally went into Illustrator and we built some really cool badges and logos as well. And we did that based off the typefaces that we chose. And we also looked at a few color palettes that we got from the images earlier, and we chose something that we all liked, which was this red palette down here.
Yeah, I love that. And so can you unpack that kind of the brief for this a little bit more, just as a kind of more of a refresher? I know that you went through that really quick, and I want people to really absorb all that beautiful information and how you kind of put together this brief.
Absolutely. So the brief really went into who 9-Bar really is and what their goals are. So wanting to be the leader in sustainable coffee and this beautiful historic building that is quite unique to its structure. We looked at who we were for, so the audience. So we want something that's refined, curious, welcoming, high quality. And then we looked at the audience, so food conscious, slow living, creatives and entrepreneurs. And then finally, we took a closer look at some of the audience and really broke down who they were and what their pain points were. So that's a little bit looked at the deck, and then we went into visuals as well, as you can see here. Just looking at logos and things like that.
Yeah, and I love the inspiration. I kept kind of beating that drum yesterday about how much I loved the inspo that you pulled and how beautifully you kind of laid out this brief. I think this is such a great kind of component to any successful branding project, and especially, walking clients through it and those personas that you've built. I think that's super helpful in terms of really fine tuning who you're talking to and how you're doing it and what will resonate with them. All that stuff is beautiful. But I love especially the kind of brief that you put together around kind of a modern take on a classic kind of coffee shop, and not wanting it to be necessarily just a place where people kind of go and work from, but more of like a local community center.
Absolutely. And so from there, we went into looking at the logos, and I actually spent a little time making 2 more last night. Yeah, one with a little illustration. And I also separated them so we can see them a lot better over here. And so I was curious to know, Alex, I was quite leaning towards 2. So a secondary, which would be the stamp, and our primary logo. But I really had a hard time choosing between something like this and something like this. So I'm curious to know what you feel.
Oh, that's a good question. We might need chat's help on this, actually. I think chat always likes to kind of help. Yeah. We can number that top left one as number 1, and then
number 1 and number 2.
Bottom one is number 2. Maybe if we can put them side by side, that'd probably be a good reference point. And then Val can give us a straw poll or a poll around number 1 or 2 in terms of your logo ideas.
Sure, 1 second.
Yeah, of course. So that left one will be number 1, and then that right one will be number 2, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
1 and 2.
Yeah, we do need a poll. The ask, do we need a poll? Well, let's do a poll on which option chat prefers between option 1 on the left and option 2 on the right. That would be sweet. So we'll give like chat like a minute or 2 to get their answers in.
Sure.
But in case you're on YouTube and you're wondering, where is this poll link going to be? Where is all this chat happening? It's on be.net/Adobe Live. So come on over so we can actually interact with you, answer your questions, read your comments, all those great things. Get that poll answer in there. I'm curious though, as chat's kind of getting their thoughts into it, which one are you resonating? What are the things that you're liking about each of them that makes it a hard decision for you?
Well, I really love number 2, I have to say. I love the illustration, and I love how, if we're going to go with a secondary logo, this kind of gives us a little bit more information by saying coffee and grocer, while this doesn't have that in the logo. So I love how it's not repeating words, but also like the stacked kind of look of this logo as well. So it's a little bit difficult. You know, I do like the kind of simplicity of it.
That's true. Interesting. Chat, the poll is live and it is in there. And so yes, it's top left and top right. If you don't mind just zooming in a little bit just to those two. So chat has a full kind of context of what we're voting on. But yeah, that's cool. I think that's even more helpful because I think the spot illustration is a little hard to read from super far away. Sweet. I see Sarah voting in chat. Sarah, make sure that you click on that poll button and put your number in there. Let's see here. Cool. All right. So I've got some results. Drum roll. All right. Results are in. Logo 2 is the winner.
This one.
The one on the right. Yep. About 27 to 73% winning. Which is a pretty big landslide. That's pretty cool.
Indeed. Okay.
Well, I also agree with that. I am a big fan of number 2, purely based off of coffee and grocer gets a little bit lost. And I think having 9-bar coffee just really pulled out like that, and you've got a nice, clear hierarchy. I think that makes it a lot stronger. And I love that you can keep that artisanal, like that top bar of artisanal with the spot illustration and the dry goods if you need it, but at the same time you can pull it apart and it will still work really well. That way you're not having to like fuss with it at small scales, but on a storefront window looks great.
Absolutely. And that leads us into kind of what we're going to do now. We're kind of going to see how these logos can be pulled together with mockups. So now I think we're ready. Now that we have the typefaces down, we have the logo down, we have the color palettes. Now we're ready to see exactly how this is going to take shape and take form. So I have a bunch of mockups that I downloaded. You can get mockups from many places. I get them from many places. You can get them from Adobe stock, which is great. But you can also find many beautiful mockups from a wide variety of places. So I kind of found my mockups from a lot of other places as well. So we'll look through what we got, and then we'll put them together and see how they start to form with a lot of the logo and the color palettes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get straight into that, I've got a question from Danny. Danny says, comment, I love number 2, but I'm wondering if you have any concerns about scaling issues.
No. I don't.
Why is that?
Because I feel like when we have the logo, I think that it will be fine. If we're looking at shops and we're looking at print material, I think it'll be big enough. If this little bag gets a little bit skewed, I'm not too concerned about it. It's not like something that needs to be 100% identifiable. So I'm not 100% concerned about that, and I feel like it will keep its form as well. So I'm not too concerned. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that scalability. And we can always make, like you said, we can always make the pieces of type a little bit bigger to fit appropriately as well.
Yeah, and honestly, depending on, like you said, where you're printing it and how you're printing it, you can remove that top bar, because artisanal coffee, or I forget what the copy at the top says now. But that stuff is secondary information. It's not going to, sorry, artisanal dry goods. So yeah, that's great. It's a descriptor of what you're getting at 9 Bar Coffee, but it's not necessary, right? You can keep the 9 Bar Coffee and the establishment dates if you need, or you can even pull out those kind of secondary elements and just have 9 Bar Coffee and take off away the established dates. Like all that stuff is kind of malleable, and it's part of building a kind of a scalable design system. So you have all these options if you need it, but you don't have to use them all the time.
So I'm just going to go down here and see how we can actually start to formulate some of these things into actual mockups. Cool. So let's see.
I always love a good mockup. Have you ever played with dimension for especially like these coffee bags and things?
I have at times. Yeah. Nice. What do you think about dimension?
I love it. I've done a bunch of streams on a dimension. I especially love for this project that they have the kind of coffee shop mockup. That's the 3D background. That is super great for matching lights and putting coffee cups in there and the coffee bags and all that good stuff. So it's just fun.
Absolutely.
Jorge is asking, what's a good place for mockups for clothing? I use Placeit, but is there a better one? There's so many.
Yeah.
You can just, if you Google like clothing mockups, you can find them. But there's one on Creative Market. I think that's like a huge one for Bella and Canvas. Like I think it has all their t-shirts. I think it's pretty expensive, but it has a ton of options for you. Yellow Images has some mockups for clothing, but those are pretty pricey. So I would look for like a mockup kit. I think there's like Graphic Burger has some as well. Or you can make your own. Get your displacement maps out and all those good fun things. Oh, I love your color palette that you chose. What was kind of the inspiration behind it?
I would say that it was a lot of the images that we saw earlier, kind of in this area here. Like these things right here were super influential, for sure.
It's a great one. I didn't even realize it was so subtle that the great how tight your mood boards were and how tight your inspiration pieces were has really kind of helped solidify it as a client and a candidate. Like being able to show them such tight mood boards kind of helps you in your ideation phases so that you can get your color palette pulled really quickly. So
absolutely,
it's great stuff.
I'm just going to go over here.
Are you grabbing, what elements are you grabbing?
I'm just grabbing a lot of the text elements.
Oh, nice.
As well. So I'm actually going to go Object, expand this to make it easier.
It's always tricky with those like wood block sketch illustration things. When they become negative, sometimes they don't read as easily as when they did as a darker color.
Absolutely. So it's kind of coming together. Yeah.
Probably have to push it up as well, right? Yeah, I love this iteration. I love that you kind of went home and did a couple more rounds on it, and it's looking really good.
Absolutely.
Have you ever shot your own mockups?
I have. Yep. I have my creative partners, and they do a lot of product photography for us as well. So um, it is something that we do. But sometimes we don't have the opportunity to do it, so we go with mockups.
That's fair. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. How much time do you think that you, on average, spend kind of putting together mockups and collateral pieces for like a candidate, like a client proposal and deck?
Right. Quite a bit,
Yeah.
I have to say. I think it's super important um, because initially you got to sell the work.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's super important for sure.
How much of that the normal creative time going into like pre-pitching to a client do you spend like percentage wise, like
Um,
versus building the logo versus like getting kind of the presentation layer built?
um, that's a good question. I think it's less than 50%, but it's a good chunk of that, like 30%, 35%
Yeah,
of it, I think. Yeah.
it's good to know. I agree. Ooh, that's a great question, Val. Val has asked, so Sophia, this is a
Mhm.
fictional project, but if it was for a real client, at what point would you have shown them your progress? If that time has already passed, when would that have been?
So we'd start with the deck and show them the deck and the mood boards of where we're going to take it. So that's the first sign of showing them something. And then we'll come up with the logo and we show them that and get their approval. And so it's a step-by-step process. So we're definitely skipping a lot of that with this, but it would be a step-by-step process. Yeah. So definitely right from the beginning, they'll be involved for sure.
That's awesome. I know you showed your deck and you've got a bunch of really great strategy work in there.
Mhm.
How much strategy is that typically about the normal strategy that
Uh,
you'd work with the client on, or
no, that was pretty reduced. I'd say
okay,
that with a client, it would be a lot more emphasis on like personas and audience and things of that nature. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely reduced a lot more for sure.
excellent. But how many personas do you typically do? Like three or
Three,
five?
three.
Three.
I think three is a really good number. Five seems to be a little bit excessive for me, like for usually for what we get
Mm-hmm.
coming through the door. But oops, actually, you know what? I'm just going to get rid of this keynote. You don't think we're going to need it anytime soon? Maybe I'll just hide it like this.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I wonder if you need that top line with the artisanal dry goods
Hmm.
on the coffee cup. Like I wonder if you just did the 9 bar coffee established, if it would
Let's check it
work
out.
potentially better or not. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Switch home.
Is there any reason you use just the pixels versus a smart object on these?
I just find it better to maneuver around with the smart rather than going back and forth like that. So that's my only. I just find it to be more easier and more with ease and stuff like that. So
Got it.
it's very interesting.
Sliman, welcome to chat. I really like the hierarchy you've built in this. It's looking really good.
Thank you. So maybe we'll do one with and one without.
You can always let chat vote on it again.
Indeed. So I'm just going to go do that one and then we'll switch to a different one. Sometimes mockups for whatever reason just isn't the right fit. And that's fine. That happens.
Chat, I know there's viewers all over the world hanging out with us today, so would love to know about your local coffee culture. Tell us about it. Is it good? Is it bad? Do you wish it was better? Tell us kind of what you're known for in your kind of region of the world. Love to know about your coffee. Tell us all the funky fun things. I know Australians like their flat whites, and as a Greek coffee, not Turkish coffee. So tell us about your fun little coffee facts in your neck of the woods.
This didn't transfer correctly. 1 second.
Slimman says, Tunisia here, I spent 4 hours a day drinking coffee. Ooh, yum. What kind of coffee are you drinking? Just black coffee? What kind of roast? All that good stuff. Tell me everything.
Mm-hmm.
McCorn asks, coffee facts? What are your coffee facts? I know you talked about the bars of pressure yesterday.
Yeah,
What
I think that's
know?
as far as it goes for me.
Let me see what coffee facts I've got. Coffee drinks date back to 800 AD, which is pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Only 2 states in the US produce coffee. Huh.
That's odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it grows in climates typically along the equator. So Hawaii and then California can sometimes make it. They have about a dozen farms. Multiple people have tried to ban coffee back in the 1500s. That's wild. I'm getting deep into this. The Boston Tea Party apparently helped popularize coffee because it wasn't tea.
Interesting.
Anna Kazar called me out. She's like, Alex is Googling coffee facts in a different monitor. Yes, that's true. That is actually true.
Okay, so I'm just going to save this out really quick as our first kind of like look.
Nice. Good idea. Also, chat loves when you can save. So big props doing that. Kanita says, hello, maybe I missed her explaining how, but did she copy paste the background, the color for the second cup of coffee into Photoshop? I think that's a live color layer.
Yeah,
so then it's just.
Yeah, that's a color layer.
Yeah, so you're just using the hex code that you got from Illustrator. I'm just pulling that in. Did you know that espresso means to be pressed out? I can't believe I've never put that together.
No, I had no idea. No.
Yeah, I guess I was always wondering why it was espresso, and I think as an American, everybody always thinks it's called espresso, just for how quick it is.
Right.
Yeah. So now I know it's to press, and that's where the bars of pressure comes and pushes the liquid out of it.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Or his coffee fact is my girlfriend drinks too much of it.
Mm.
Somebody made a car called Car Pacino. It's a 1988 Volkswagen that somebody made to modified it to run on leftover coffee grounds.
Wow.
I know. And I love a good pun. So anybody who names their car Carpaccio gets an easy win in my book. I'm waiting for Val to hear that in chat respond because I know she's going to love that as well. Oh, I love the signs, like getting a nice mock-up like that.
Me too. It's looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Is that just a gold foil that they're applying?
Yeah. See how this works. We'll see.
So did you, after yesterday's stream where we talked so much about terrazzo patterns and floors, did you go home and look for some inspo?
I didn't get a chance to. No. But do you have any other kind of like thoughts or like?
Oh, I love it. Oh, I specifically I owed Val some links yesterday because I told her I would send it. So I sent it to her, and I re-looked at the project, and the big chunky terrazzo floors are just so beautiful and so incredible. And now I need it, but I don't have a house, so well, I guess one foot before the other.
And so that's not working. So that's really odd. But it's okay because you know what? I think that maybe. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I was on the wrong layer.
Val says, Alex sent me some. They're amazing, all caps. Yeah, they're great. Val, I would love to know your opinion. Do you like chunky terrazzo more than just your normal one? That's a question. Oh, Carol's saying that Substance has some terrazzo materials. For some people who don't know what Substance is, Substance has some, it's like a texture skin, I guess you put on materials and on 3D objects. And so when you wrap an object with it, it gives you like rock substances or plastic or whatever. So a terrazzo material would be pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me Google it real quick. Oh yeah, they do have in, that's cool. I will link it in chat. That's beautiful. It's interesting. I would love to know more behind your decision on blowing up the artisanal dry goods to be bigger. Is it for legibility, or kind of what's your intention behind that?
A bit of legibility. Yeah, I think that, and going with the embossed, like that's what I said earlier, you can play with some of the consistency and the dynamics of it for sure. Yeah, so that'd be the reason why for that for sure.
I love that. I love that you're building these logos, but with the flexibility and of intention behind it. Like I think oftentimes as designers, especially starting off, we get these brand guidelines from other people. It says, do this to the logo, don't do this to the logo. And it makes it very exact, but sometimes you need to break those in order to get the correct intention out of it. So I love that you're already building that flexibility into your design system when you're building that from the ground up. How do you typically build your presentation files to a client? Do you just put it in like Google presentation? Do you do it in InDesign and then export it as a PDF? How do you kind of do this?
So I do them in Keynote.
Okay.
Yeah, so my presentations go into Keynote. When I'm building a brand guide, I usually build those in InDesign as well, which is where a lot of this would kind of go. But the presentations have a lot of these mockups as well. So that's how I'd start with it.
That's awesome. How many pages do you typically put into your brand guidelines? Was it just like one long page?
So it's a breakdown. It's a real breakdown, and we don't do the logos like don't do this, don't do that. Instead, kind of like what you just said. It's kind of like a guide of how to use it, and it's like anything outside of this guide, just don't do it. So that's kind of and it's a multi-page thing. So we don't really do the one pager unless that's the nature of the project. Then it's fine. We can do one page, but otherwise than that, a multi-page step is usually the way we go with it. Yeah.
What's the longest brand guideline you've ever had to work with, or like been given from either a client or built yourself?
I don't think we've had super big ones. I think like maybe the longest was like, I don't know, maybe about like 40 or 50 pages. But they had a lot of elements going on, like illustrations and different ways, different types of packaging. So it made sense. But that would probably be the longest. But I don't think we've worked with anything super, super big. So
yeah,
in that sense, yeah. What about you?
I think 350 page brand guidelines. Yeah, long one.
Can you tell us? Are you able to tell us what it was for?
All I can say it was Disney Plus's brand guidelines.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very specific around a lot of things, which is helpful. A lot of it's like how to do XYZ type things. It's where it gets really robust.
Indeed.
Jorge says, in an online store, when looking at the same design on different color shirts, I always hated that it's the same shirt mockup. They just changed the color. And it's practical. As a designer, I'm just trying to use different mockups, which is time consuming. Am I right or wrong? It depends, Jorge. It really depends on your client and the intention, all that stuff. If you're just really trying to show variance and how you can swap colors or different, a white logo might look on a blue shirt, a red shirt, black shirt, I wouldn't spend all that time. But I think if there's like a graphic treatment, say you're doing the illustration and the colors on the illustration really matter and you're not wanting to change those, then I would probably show different mockups on different shirts to kind of reinforce whatever vibe that you're putting onto it. Um, and that should help, I think, distinguish the look and feel. But I don't know. I would say save your time potentially, and you know where to put your time and effort. So if it's a different mock-up for a different color shirt, then do that. Otherwise, I don't know. I think you can save some time. That's cool. I love the stamp.
Mm-hmm. Actually, make this background a little bit darker.
I always love seeing how creatives like structure their folders. Your file structure is amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
Super dialed.
Yeah, super. File structures are super important. So I'll kind of show people a little bit about here. So it's like Adobe Live, right? Program. And then you can see like how I've labeled every single thing here.
That's amazing. And I'm assuming that you have like a root folder structure that you just kind of copy for everything. So it's always like present, like you got your logo explorations as 00, 01 is your presentation or whatever. Is that the case, or do you kind of just do it off the cuff for each project?
No, exactly what you said. Yeah, that's how we do it.
Awesome. Yeah, for those of y'all at home trying to do some file structures like that, what you can do is you can build those as empty files or folders and name them all everything like you like, and then keep that at the bottom of your kind of organization layer. And then you can duplicate that into any of the projects or clients that you have. That way you're not having to kind of retype it out constantly. So it makes it a lot easier to keep organized, keep it consistent, and just speed up your workflow while you're working. Jorge asked, do you think the average customers pay attention to that, talking about the color choices between shirts? I think average customers don't pay attention to, like if you're on the online store and it's just swapping t-shirt colors, I don't think that's a big thing. I think sometimes it's more like it adds a friction point. Sometimes I think if it's a completely different mock-up, I think if you even look at like interior design commerce stores like Design Within Reach or West Elm or whatever, they'll show a rug, and that rug maybe has different color combinations, but it's still the same like framing and photo, and essentially they just change the colors on the product itself. I think that's a better way of like showing a one-to-one comparison in terms of color. But I think if the designs of the shirts are different, then doing different mockups helps differentiate it. Hope that helps. Sophie, do you have a favorite coffee shop?
You know what? These days I don't really. I think it's because I stopped drinking coffee for the most part. But I feel like these days I don't really have a favorite. Yeah, I don't. What about you? Do you have like a favorite, or do you like have like a favorite drink that you feel like is your go-to? Or
I definitely have a favorite drink. I love lattes. I like milk. I don't subscribe to the black coffee only mindset. But when I was living in San Francisco, I really loved Blue Bottle. I know it's like really cliche to say, but I live right next to one and it's really yummy.
Right.
They've blown up. They got acquired by Nestle.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. So they went from like really bespoke San Francisco coffee that was like really artisanal into still being artisanal, but owned by Nestle and shipping their coffee beans and things all over the world. So that's pretty cool. Good for them. Yeah, it's a good one. I think mostly traveling, you find those little cool like coffee shops here and there that provide you something unique and interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. I have to agree.
I think in Portland there was one that I went to that was called like I think Rickshaw Coffee Shop, and I think it was like a bike messenger
Hmm.
inspired place, and they had incredible baked goods and an interesting little ambiance. So it's always fun when you can stumble upon those randomly.
Hmm.
It's a great mock-up as well, that with the window mock-up.
Yeah, it really gives you that feeling, that essence of like where it's going to go, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
You have a mug. I was really excited to do this mug.
Nice. Yeah, it's great. I love the minimalist logo on there as well.
Absolutely.
If you were to do something unique on that coffee mug, what would you do for the logo?
You know, I think usually if we had a little bit more time, I'd finesse like some illustrative points. I think that would be really, really cool to like do more illustrations and really kind of like have a library that they can alternate from, like different types and things like that. I think that would be really, really, really cool.
Bria says, watching you work is so mesmerizing. I'm so glad I caught this live today.
Thank you.
Welcome, Bria. Thank you for tuning in.
This white.
Oh, is that just the inside? That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's always fun when there's so many different little color options that you can tweak on the smart objects and things. And
Absolutely, yeah.
you find the one little interesting, I didn't think that would do that section. Ooh, coffee coasters or beer koozie coasters. Those are fun.
Yeah, I thought that these would be really, really cool to try.
Have you gotten to design many of these before?
Once or twice. Really, really fun. You can have a lot of fun with them.
So. Yeah. Did you get to pay for some fun printing techniques?
That was up to the client to decide for this project. So I don't know if they decided. We recommended things, but it was up to them to kind of fulfill it. So we don't know if they actually went through with it, but we definitely had a little fun with ideas and things like that.
I always appreciate when the client trusts you more to communicate with the printer than they trust themselves, and then gives you the budget saying, yes, okay, embossing and beveling and all that stuff is in the budget. Just make sure they don't mess it up. It's always fun. I always love getting those the test prints. It's always super rewarding.
Indeed, yeah, I agree.
Hello, Shauna. Welcome to chat. We are picking off. So I know for people that are just now tuning in, you might not know what we're doing. Sophia is running this project. It's a self-initiated project for a coffee shop called 9bar. It's completely personal. Maybe she'll get even more coffee clients in the future, but really it's for Adobe Live. So that's super exciting. The idea behind this project is essentially to be a modern take on a classic coffee shop, much that you would see in kind of the streets of France or London or whatever. Just really fun, very exciting. The color palette's awesome. The type is awesome. Everything's looking really good. If you are tuning in on YouTube, make sure you come on over to be.net/Adobe Live to chat in Behance. And so we can read your comments, answer your questions, and you get to vote in polls, which is pretty awesome.
It's not bad.
I like it.
Me too.
I was at a restaurant the other day with walls that were painted this beautiful color. I was like, oh, that's so good. I need it.
Same.
Did someone say polls? I did say polls, but we are not voting yet. Not yet. We don't have anything to show yet, but maybe in a bit. Shauna says, I just came up from the rink. It feels like 22 outside. My hot coffee is barely doing anything to warm me up. Shauna, do tell, what kind of coffee are you getting? I feel like Shauna, I think we've talked about this before. Do you have fancy coffees, don't you? You put like matcha or some spices in there, don't you? I think. Remember, please let us know. We're all talking about coffee today. Val says fine to no polls yet, but soon. Shauna says apple crisp macchiato from Starbucks. Holy moly. That's a flavor bomb. I didn't even know they made an apple crisp macchiato. Has anybody else had the apple crisp macchiato from Starbucks? Is it any good? And Indra says, are all those logo variations for this brand? These are, yes, variations of the same logo. And how are you looking at that from a scalability perspective? Again, you're looking at it, certain elements can be used. Unpack that again.
Yeah, so certain elements can be used. Some elements can be taken away. And the type sizes can change as well to fit whatever narrative that you want or whatever context you need as well.
Awesome. I love that.
All right, and we'll just do this coffee bag and see how that plays out. We haven't really designed any packaging so forth, but we can kind of see how the logo will just look on something that's very simple.
That's a great idea. Um, Carol asked, why the choice to paste as pixels and not make it a smart object before enlarging? And you said that earlier that you prefer to work in that way so that it's faster for you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I find it to be a lot quicker. Now, if I was doing this like as a personal, like a solo project, not live, maybe I might decide to do it the other way. But I find that this way it's a lot more quicker for me to just to see and to scale as needed. But it's up to you. I mean, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I prefer smart objects just because the scalability part of it allows me to quickly ramp up things, or non-destructive editing essentially.
Yeah, and I think that yeah, again, whatever you feel most comfortable. I think that for our live today, I found that to be that my comfort level. Yeah. But if I was working with the team, then we might choose to do the smart object arena as well. So it's whatever you feel.
Shauna says that she's had her apple spice macchiato iced as well. Got it free one day because they messed up. The barista was like, "Here you go, enjoy." So that's funny. But you like it? Which one do you like more, heated or iced? Seems like an interesting one. Probably iced or heated. Probably. I don't know. I'd have paralysis. Shauna also asked, "What is your favorite coffee, Sophia?" Laz, your favorite coffee as well.
I love myself a good oat milk latte. Simple, but I love oat milk. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said mine is a latte. I sometimes can do like a mocha if I'm really being delicate. Not delicate, decadent. That's what I meant. Do you have a favorite oat milk?
No, not really. I'm still looking for the perfect one. Yeah. Does anybody in chat have any recommendations?
That's a great question. I had one the other day and I forgot the brand. I'll see if I can dig it up again.
That'd be great.
Shauna, do you have a favorite oat milk? Kanita says Elmhurst is a good oat milk. Let's see. It's cool packaging on the Elmhurst oat milk as well. It's got all the grains and I guess that's just the technical word. All the grains and plant fibers for all their different ones, kind of on the packaging from the start. It's very good. Nita says simple, clean ingredients too. Oh, it's just plus water. That's cool. That's awesome. She says her local cafe does a really good spiced chai latte. That's exactly why I thought you had fancy coffees. Makes sense now. Indra asks, music, podcast, or TV while designing, or just silence? I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but you can recap for people just tuning in.
Yeah, I love to watch movies in the background. Not watch, but like listen to movies that I've already seen in the background. I know it sounds weird, but I need that dialogue. Also, I like the podcast Lore, which if you haven't heard it, give it a listen. It's very interesting. What about you?
I'm assuming that's a bunch of lore for pop culture things, or what?
No,
it's just movies.
It's like what is it? It's more like murder mysteries, folk tales, folklore, that fantasy kind of vibe to it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll typically listen to like, it really depends on my mood and what I'm working on. But like I said yesterday, if I'm listening to like a podcast or somebody talking, uh, I sometimes type that into like the brief or,
Right.
even the copy I'm making up for, some paragraphs or whatever. So I try not to listen to words as much as possible, but yeah, it's good. So I know you said kind of fantasy and things like that. What's your kind of current hook? Because I know you like Harry Potter.
What do you mean current hook? Like what am I?
Like shows, movies, like things that are currently like on your radar that you're really enjoying.
So I think I mentioned this yesterday, but I'm watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's right.
And I've never seen that show. It's from the 90s. I'm obviously a 90s kid. But yeah, I'm totally into that. Me and my friends are watching them. Some of us watching, some of us for the first time. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm really loving it. And so if you haven't seen it, see it. Yeah, I think you'll like it.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can get into the Buffy thing yet, but maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm really excited. The Expanse comes back out soon, December, I think.
Okay. If
you've never watched The Expanse, it's so good. If you like sci-fi. If you don't like sci-fi, then probably don't watch it. Because it's all in space. Shauna says, I like listening to true crime. This week has been me following a local trial, so that's fun. Oh, goodness. Andrea says, Buffy, solid choice.
Yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Oof, I am so into Buffy. And so, like that whole show. And then like you have another show like Angel, which is like the vampire dude that she like falls in love with. He has like his own show. It's like, it's crazy. It sounds really not, but it is. It is. Trust me, it is. It's really good.
That's hilarious. Bria says, you must remember this is a good podcast detailing old Hollywood stories, legends, and mysteries. Interesting. Chris says, my favorite coffee is a maple cinnamon latte from Cream and Amber, a bookstore that serves coffee and craft beer. That sounds like a fantastic bookstore. Where are you located? Where is that coffee shop / bookstore / craft brewery? And just as Comedians with Ghost Stories is a good podcast. I don't know most of the people, but they are funny and the stories are super creepy and true life experiences. Chris says, I live in Colorado, but I go to Minneapolis often, Minnesota, and the bookstore is in Minneapolis. That's amazing. Cool. If you're in the Minneapolis area, check out that coffee shop / bookstore / beer garden / everything. It's called Cream and Amber. That name makes sense now.
Okay, so I kind of went through our mockups really quick to build some out. So now I'm going to build basically a bit of a brand kind of guide in a way, just to kind of lay out what we've done and kind of really look at each piece and kind of put the brand together in a cohesive way to see where we can take it. Now, I think that this is a good starting point. Typically, we take something that we have built over the last 2 days and really expand it across other different forms like packaging and maybe restaurant menus and things like that. But we can start building that out now and seeing how it goes.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Awesome.
I want to ask, anybody baking anything fun soon? I feel like this is relevant to the coffee conversation. That's true. That's a good point. You know, I forgot the other day about affogatos completely. Are you familiar with those?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I haven't had one in a long time.
Exactly. I saw like, I think a YouTube ad or something, and somebody made one. And I was like, wow, I have completely forgotten about them. And now I need to go find some ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Ruth asked, quick question. How many fonts are you using / applying in these badges? Are they different fonts?
So yes, the badges explored a few different fonts that had like a very similar stylistic point. But for the ones that we've chosen, there's only 2 that we're finalized on. But the badges do explore different typefaces. Yeah.
There you go. And as Vudabal pointed out in chat, we will be having the artist spotlight section or spotlight very soon in about 26 minutes. So make sure that you go into the top tab where it says artist spotlight and you can nominate yourself or your friends to be featured. It's a really great opportunity, kind of join kind of the larger Behance community and get your work out there in front of people, or say, hey, you know, I'm here, I make awesome stuff, check me out. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of baking talk happening in chat. So if you're on YouTube and you're wondering, where's all this baking? Where's all this conversation happening? It's over on Behance. So make sure you come on over here, hang out with us in chat, hang out with us live. We can answer all your questions. You can talk about all your favorite baked goods that you're going to be making. Talk about your favorite coffee. It's be.net/Adobe Live. Come on over, hang out with us. Ruth goes, okay, so you play with different fonts first, create different logos with them, and then choose the final piece in fonts, correct?
Absolutely.
So yesterday, and there's the video from yesterday will show you kind of some of the explorations that were happening, kind of some of the logic behind the hierarchy, some of the pairings that was going on. So you can kind of see that all happening real time, which is super exciting. And today is more about adding the presentation layer, starting to mock things up, start to build those kind of brand guidelines for them. Oh, look at you bringing in the secondary typeface as well for that cover photo.
Absolutely.
Nice. Do you typically have like a kind of a template that you work from, or is it kind of bespoke to the client?
Some of it's bespoke, but we do have a generalized kind of like format that we use. Yeah, to kind of help us get there. So it's going to show both the logo and the secondary logo. You can see kind of, you'll be able to see how I lay it out.
Love that. I always love when you can have such a just when your logo stands out and looks just good on black and white and just can give it a whole page to itself almost.
Absolutely.
I think with all the chat about coffee and sweets and things, my first reaction to ask is, are you a big winter person? Do you prefer not being in the winter? How do you feel about as the seasons are about to get colder and colder? How do you feel about it?
I'm a winter person through and through. Absolutely. A huge winter person. What about you?
I like winter. I have been living in Southern California for a little bit now, so I'm not as used to the cold, but I can always put more layers on, so I'm always down for it. What do you like to do in the winter?
Stay inside. No, but like honestly, just like a lot of the outdoor kind of sports and things like that, I think are my favorite. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's also a vibe, like cozying up under the comforters and just having a hot coffee and just hanging out. It's great.
Absolutely.
Shauna says, I like fall in the beginning of winter. We've had some snowfall, but nothing is stuck. That's good. Shauna's in Chicago. So it's about to get real cold real fast.
Indeed. Oh, yeah.
Jorge says, team winner, summer sucks. You can always layer up. That's true. I like layering up. You can never cool off easier. So, but I guess it really depends on how cold it gets, because those Chicago winters are gnarly. Shauna says it was 22 and windy today. I was a popsicle. So yeah, it's when it gets below that, I feel like is when you start really not enjoying it.
So you can see that we're just starting to see the logo. I love showing clients the logo on a black and white interface so they can kind of see it in contrast. So we're just, yeah, it's literally just laying it out, and hopefully everybody can, like, as I lay it out, people can kind of see how each element are coming together, and then I'll add the mock-ups and you can see how they actually play out.
That's a great idea. Ruth was asking, just wondering, what are your go-to tools when designing? Do you normally use an iPad, camera, desktop, laptop? What are they? You want to kind of
laptop.
show people some of the sketches that you did that kind of got us to where we are today, or meow?
Sure thing.
Love it.
So let me see if I can load these into preview so I can show you guys. Because I had it on file yesterday, but I got rid of them because I wanted to clear up our file. But it's just loading. These are big sketches, or big files rather. Here's an idea of what I had yesterday.
I love all these explorations that you did were so great. I think such good sketches really kind of showed a bunch of different kind of thinking about the systems, trying something and then pivoting it drastically to make sure that you're not just doing one iteration of the same kind of logo over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is like the starting point, kind of like the deck we had. And then this would be number 2, and then onto the laptop would be like the third thing if we were going to put it into steps.
Yeah, I love that. So then I guess for Ruth, who was asking about your process and your tools, how would you bring that into Illustrator? You want to show a little recap of kind of some of the explorations you did and then how we got to here?
Yeah, so basically I had the sketches side by side yesterday. So I pulled them into this actual document. I got rid of them just so we can clear up some space today, but yesterday I had them side by side and I was literally going back and forth looking at my sketches and these pre-type selections. A lot of the inspo came from the deck that I had earlier. So let's look at that. So, you can see the type here. And so a lot of that led into what we chose here, as well as the color palettes. And then we just started exploring. As you can see, started exploring many different types.
It's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then I think this transitions really nicely into Naz's question, which is, when do you choose to switch from Illustrator to Photoshop for layouts?
When we're building mockups. So mockups are photo-based images. And so that's when we want to kind of go from here to start to get into Photoshop. But we don't actually use Photoshop to do any of the illustrations. These are vector-based things. So vector-based type and illustrations are best to be used in Illustrator.
Love it.
I actually want to create, actually, never mind. I know the answer to my question. I was going to ask you a question. I was like, oh, never mind. I know what it is.
You can ask again if you want or whatever.
No, I was just going to ask how I can get one of the artboards to be below, but then I was like, oh, I can just turn this into, I know how to do that. I was like, oh, never mind.
Oh yeah, you can also do it with Command-Shift-O, I think, and just drag it.
Really? No, I was just going to go like this. Oh, you mean like dragging the artboard down?
Yeah, so if you wanted to, you could just when you're in the artboard layer, which I think so if you press I think it's Command-Shift-O. It's always funny whenever you know the command. Let me just bring up my Illustrator real quick.
And then, no, it's not working.
Let me find the command in a second. You keep doing your thing, and I have to remember it because it's so second nature that I forget what my hands are doing sometimes.
Yeah, they changed one of the options, and then I didn't know how to do it, but then I found another way, and I was like, oh, whatever.
All right. Yeah, so if you press Command-Shift-O, it will allow you to have the artboard selection tool up.
Command-Shift-O, and then where's the tool?
It should be, your cursor should work with it, I think. Is it not changing?
No, it's okay. We can do that one next time. because I have another way to do it, which is just basically taking a shape layer, turning it into a
Oh, it's Shift O. Sorry.
Shift O. Oh, there it is.
So Shift O and then just Alt drag. So whenever you do Shift O, you can just Alt drag and then drag the artboard and it'll duplicate it.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Awesome. That's exactly what I wanted.
Alt Shift drag it and you can just pull it down below.
Okay. So I know what I can do actually.
So yeah, right. You can duplicate all these beautiful spreads you've got, and that's super helpful.
So Alt, Shift, and then I can just drag it.
Yeah, just click and drag it.
Do I have to duplicate it first?
Hold Alt and Shift.
Alt and Shift. Okay.
So Alt to duplicate, and then Shift so that you're dragging straight down.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Awesome. That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, it took me so long. I know these commands, but always forget what my hands are doing.
Well, now everybody, including myself in the chat, learned something that if they didn't know this, they know it now. So
yeah, that's great. Niraj says, as a beginner, what advice will y'all give us to remember?
So I got a few things. Keep exploring, keep trying new things. Make a lot of stuff. Like you just got to make things. 2 is, even if you don't want to be a business owner, it's very important to learn the business of design, I think. Even if you don't want to own your own business, or you don't want to be a freelancer, understanding the language will help you be invaluable to whatever team you show up at. And lastly, my advice is to try your best to can the perfectionism. Make things that you love, make things to learn, be open to new ideas, and focus. I hope that doesn't sound too stern, like focus, but like have fun. But like I think that it's design requires a certain level of focus to detail. And like I said, understanding the business, even if you don't want to be a business owner, even if that's not where you're at, understanding how projects are run and what it takes will help bring a new skill set to the workforce that I don't think any employer would see as not valuable. Yeah.
When you say focus, what is it? Just focus on the detail? What can you unpack that a little bit more? Because I think there's a lot that can be focused on.
Yeah, focus on the things that, like, if you see a piece of work and you're like, oh, I love it, kind of focus on why you love it, tear it apart, and really study it, rather than just trying to go to your computer and mimic it right away. Kind of like take a second to sit there and be like, well, why do I really like it? Is it the color? Is it the image? Is it the typography? Is it the composition? Like, what is it? Really try to understand those things first. So focus on that, focus on why you love it, tear it apart, and focus on making your craft better rather than trying to be like somebody else. And I think this is a trap that all of us fall into. Even as a professional, I think we all fall into that trap of wanting to make something like or similar to or with the same look and aesthetic. But I think it's important to break down the reasons why you like something and then put your own spin on it,
Yeah, it's great. Love those points. They're great. I just want to reiterate, everybody's on their own journey. It's easy to look at, especially on Behance, to find really great creatives or teams and be like, why is my work not like that? Or why do they have the clients that I wish I had? And, practice, refine, focus on your own craft and your own skills, and you'll get there really quickly.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think that it's so easy. I feel like everybody does this too, like even as a professional, like I'll look at other studios and be like, oh, that's really nice. Like, should we be doing that? You know, like it's easy to fall into that trap.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
we're like, oh, that person's work is really good, or they're killing it, but like, I'm not, I don't feel like I'm killing it. You know what I mean? So, am I doing something wrong? Am I not good enough? Is this, should I be doing something else? You can fall into that trap in every stage of your career, and you have to just be wary of that and know that you bring something unique to the table. Get to figure out what that is and roll with it. And yeah, like you said, it's a journey.
Yeah. Ruth asked a question that's good, and I laugh because it's something I think about a lot, actually. Ruth asked, how many years do you think it will take to be at your level, Alex or Sophia, or both, slash? I'll let you answer that first.
I don't know. I feel like, honestly, the face of education in design has changed. You can go online and you can find like videos like this, right? Where it's like when I was growing up, I don't know if there was like Adobe Lives where I could like see people work and hear them talk about like advice and stuff like that. It was just whatever school you went to. And if you're like me, I had to pay for my own tuition, right? So I couldn't afford like massive schools, but I did the best I could with what I had. And so, I mean, how long is it going to take? I don't know. It could take less than the time that it took. It could take longer. I think that for me, I just feel like just judge it based upon how much you're growing as a creative. Like if you can look back at like a year ago and be like, wow, like a year ago, I don't think I would be doing this because maybe I would be a little too timid. I still am, but here I am. Surprise. But like, just if you can look back a year ago and be like, wow, I didn't think I could do that, but I did it, you know, or I designed this thing, or I learned something. That's what's more important, I think, than anything. Yeah.
That's a great answer. Yeah, I think, like you said, it's a lot of things. I think for me, I got really lucky in terms of timing. I had, I started getting into design through web design when HTML 2.0 was happening, and taking clients that were working with, those grid websites that, the olden days, and was at kind of the turn of the digital design. So I got really lucky lucking into that. And then hard work and luck have kind of landed me where I am today. So everybody's journeys are very different, but through hard work and a little bit of luck. And I think they always say like opportunity is when hard work and luck combine into like being prepared or something like that. So yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I've got like 15 years of experience. So I don't know, use that as a bar or not, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I think I have a similar range, like I'd say 10 to 12 for myself, probably, give or take.
And Indra says, so only compare yourself to yourself? It depends on who you are, like I'm not going to say some people work better, like are intrinsically motivated. So it comes from inside of you. Some people are extrinsically motivated, which means like coming from outside of you, like whether that's like credit from peers or publications or XYZ. So whatever motivates you to kind of push yourself and grow is super, super helpful. So just learn about yourself, find what works for you, and you'll be in a better spot. But I know it's not healthy to compare yourself to people or agencies. I've done the same thing, like especially when I was starting my agency, trying to figure out like, who I was looking up to, who I was, it wasn't ever like one individual, it was the teams, and it's very hard to compete against teams. There's obviously, especially if there's like 6 people and you're just one person, it's very difficult to keep up with that pace. So it's a good recipe to burn out. So take care of yourselves, worry about your mental health. It's all super important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Fudaval says, I think one of the most valuable things I learned over the years is that my art idols go through the same struggles and anxieties as you. Exactly. That's very spot on.
That's one thing I've learned too. It's like we all have anxiety about this stuff,
Shauna says, yes, knowing people look up to that you look up to also think their own work sucks is really comforting. It's very true. Yeah, you don't see it all because all you see is like the Dribble likes and the Behance likes and whatever, the Instagram likes, and you forget that, like, you know, that's the case. And there's a lot of work on my Behance that I absolutely despise, but I put it up there because I think it's good to put up there. Whether or not that's just me, self-loathing, or it's actually good or whatever, it's fine. It's all up there. I know we have about 3 minutes left before our artist spotlight. Super excited.
Mm-hmm. We're just arranging type, and then we'll be getting closer to our wrap up for some of the things as we add a few more elements as well. And then we'll take a look at everything as a whole.
Yeah, that's great. And Val said, I started to think of all of us as the same, talking about her idols. And if I'm the same as the people that I admire, then I can do what they do, and I can just be just as successful. That's a great way of putting it. Indra, after the artist spotlight, I'll come back to your question because I think it's really good. The great thing about using Garamond is I think you can use Garamond in your Behance case study if you were to build this into a Behance post, I think.
Yep.
Which is nice. Getting that Adobe font in there.
Yeah, in fact, all of these are Adobe fonts.
It's awesome.
Yeah, Adobe has a really good variety of typefaces, which is fantastic. That's a weird sound.
We got 1 minute left, so we'll get that paragraph copy
Awesome.
in, and then we'll go to the artist spotlight. But remember, everyone, if you want to nominate yourself or somebody that you know, you can go into the tab on Behance on this live stream and go to the artist spotlight tab and nominate yourself or a friend, family member, coworker, loved ones, whatever, and get them featured.
So are you ready to spotlight?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. All right, here we go.
It's spotlight time. Beep, boop, beep, boop. So today's winner in the artist spotlight world is Paba. I'm sorry for butchering your name. I know I've already butchered it. I'm so sorry. But everybody, make sure that you go to their Behance profile. They've got their Pinterest and their Twitter links in there. Give them a follow across those as well. We're super excited to go through this person's work today. Yeah, just super excited. If you want to click into any of those that really kind of grab your eye.
Yeah,
I know there's a couple of the
since we're doing brand identities, let's take a look at some logos. Oh,
perfect.
nice.
So these are logos made in 2020, so that's great. All right, alpha beta. Okay, cool. I like the alphabet part of that. Extreme Cloud, cool. Monsters Inc. Oh, that's great. It reminds me of what's the name of that character in Monsters Inc?
I can't remember either.
The guy with the eyeball. I feel like it's like Mitty or Mitt or I don't know.
Something. Well, this is very nice. I like the pink.
Yeah, it's cool. That design aesthetic in the background could be really cool. Like I could see this as a concert venue or something like that, where those are like the lights on a stage or something like that. So.
Absolutely.
Plant peg.
Nice.
Let's go give it a look on some other work then as well. And like Voodoo Val says, there's no shame in nominating yourself. If you're proud of your work and want to show it off, send it to us. That's absolutely a great way to say it. Mike Wozniak. Thank you. Mike. Thought I'd start with the MI. HPC. These are cool gradients. I know that the Bauhaus trend, and it's kind of got a little like mid-century modern vibes going on there. It's cool. I like the mock-up on like a cloth or paper like that. That's cool.
I like this treatment of the different kind of black and white.
Yeah, it gives you kind of an element to kind of frame the type in there.
It has almost a cinematic feel, almost.
It does, yeah. It feels like an intro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
You want to look at another one?
Yeah, let's do one more, and then we'll go back to Photo Chapin.
All right.
Let's go. Yeah, let's do that top.
This one?
Yeah.
This one here?
Let's do that. Yeah, the class tags, that one.
Class tags, okay. Just taking a moment to load. There you go.
Nice. It's cool. I always love those, like, I don't know what the word is for it. The digital drips almost. Big old copy. Easy for both teachers and students.
This is a nice landing page.
Yeah, it is. And I like that they brought it out into like banner ads and display ads. It's great.
This is a nice, I like these posters. I like the colors and the illustrations are really cool too. The mobile apps.
Was that like an XD portal maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The wireframes in there, the user flows, some icons. I love seeing projects like this that are so like full-blown case study where you can see the execution and not just like the logo, but also how the collateral system was also built out, which is really nice and always fun to see.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, nicely done.
Awesome.
Can we just look at their profile again real quick so anybody who missed it knows to follow them? Arka Prabha. Yeah, I didn't butcher it as badly this time. Again, great work. Awesome. I make sure that you go follow them, check out their Pinterest, their Twitter, all that great stuff. All right. So now we can get back into the Logothon.
Right on. Okay. So I just want to say that when we are putting in text for now, for our example, I'll use Lorem Ipsum because I didn't have anything readily available. But usually you don't want to typeset Lorem Ipsum. I think you've heard of that before because it's not real words. And so it's not really good to typeset. When you're presenting things for clients, fill in something that's relevant to what they're doing. But don't just use Lorem Ipsum. That's my kind of rule of thumb. And I think I've heard that from other designers too, but it's a little tip out there for you guys, just so you know. But for this example, I will use Lorem Ipsum.
Yeah, I mean, little things that are so simple, like you could literally just copy paste in from Wikipedia about the history of coffee, and then that feels so on brand, and it brings that voice and tone in there, and it's all really lovely stuff. I agree. Don't use Lorem Ipsum in your final mockups, please, especially if you're putting in your portfolio. As somebody who hires designers all the time, it just shows a lack of finesse and that the project maybe didn't get completed. So just little things like that can turn a hiring manager away from your portfolio. If it's all Lorem Ipsum, doesn't really show that like the little details matter.
Absolutely. Make sure. I think the line height's a little too squished there. Here we go. This is sort of a way that we would do it. Usually we'd finesse a lot of these things a lot more and like spend a lot more time just doing like the nitty gritty of like getting the layouts proper and kind of giving the background of like what the logos would do. But right now, I just want to give you guys an idea of where you can take this. Um, so this is our primary heading, which is Balboa, bold, and our secondary is Adobe Garamond Pro, regular. Now we can add in some of the work that you can see that you can use for context as well.
Do you have a favorite serif font?
Oops. No, not really. I really like the I like the Pro typefaces. So because it gives me like a range of weights. Mini and Pro is great. It's available on Adobe fonts. It's great for legibility. So if you're doing like print publications, screen things where that's going to be like a fair amount of text. I like that a lot because there's varying weights. It has fractions in the glyph palette, and it's good for legibility. So I choose that. Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Alex?
It really depends on the project. I've had a couple clients, plus I think just all my Behance profiles. I've used Caslon Pro for a lot of the case studies, which is very similar to Garamond Pro, but I've always just liked some of the elements in it. It has kind of a typewritery feel sometimes in terms of like some of the curves of it are just not, they're not super digital. They're very like kind of hand done, which can be feeling really nice sometimes. Yeah. I know we probably talked about it a little bit yesterday, but probably new to people that are just tuning in today. What are some of your like design legends or icons that you kind of look up to and get inspired by?
You're asking me, right? Not the audience?
No, correct. You. I would love the audience as well. Yeah.
Sorry, my mind just kind of like.
Chat, give us your idols too. I'd love it.
So like I said yesterday, I'm a big fan of Christo in his business teaching. He's fantastic, and the team, the future, is fantastic. So if you guys don't know what that is, Google the future, future without an E, because that has been an invaluable resource for me. But Segi Haviv from Shermayev and Haviv, I guess, is the name. His work is very inspirational. I love how he describes logos as a need to, a symbol that needs to be easily identifiable but not explained. So that's where that comes from. So those would be my two off the bat. I'd love to hear about the people in the chat.
Yeah, chat, let us know who inspires you. Who are your favorite creatives? Love to know. In the meantime, while we're waiting for chat to answer us, Ruth asks, how many projects do you normally work on in a month?
In a month? Maybe about, it could be anywhere from 2 to 3. We're a small team, but we do big things. So with that being said, sometimes we only take on like a few, but they're quite significant in and of themselves. So yeah, 2 to 3 seems to be good and well managed for us. Maybe more in the future when we grow and expand, like all, I think many agencies want to.
That's great.
But yeah, that's how much. 2 to 3. What about you, Alex? Just curious, out of curiosity.
Oh man, it really depends. We have a lot of clients. We don't really do the curtains up and handoff for clients that I think a lot of agencies do, where it's like, here's your logo, good luck. We really look at our relationships with our clients as like a long-term commitment. So it's always been very just like what they need. And sometimes it's, sometimes 6 clients will come back in a month and need a lot of things, sometimes 8, sometimes 10. So it's very dependent on the client and what they need, and kind of how things are landing for the quarter, I think, is typically when we get some pretty big rushes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really just depends. But if we were to say that we were to do like curtains up, I think we just don't have the capacity anymore to do like 3 rebrands a month. I think we'll typically do ongoing design support and then like one big client rebrand per quarter, depending on how big they're looking for it.
That's interesting. It's something I'm thinking about myself, because we actually don't, we build relationships, but we don't do like the, what is it called? So, the monthly kind of like just doing the work for the client, like building assets and stuff. We don't really do that. So like we'll equip the client with everything they need, a great brand guide, even some templates that they can go ahead. But usually we tell them that you should probably hire an in-house team to kind of do this rather than us being that place. Same thing with, we have like developers and stuff that can do web, but like we won't manage your site, but we can hire a developer who can do that for you if you want to pay that, or you can do that on your own. But it's something that I'm thinking about. Like I have friends who say that's the way that they do it and they abide by that. And they're like, yeah, that's great. And then I have friends who are like, no, that's not what we want. So I guess it just depends, but something I'm thinking about for sure.
That's great. Shauna says, I look up to a bunch of letterers and illustrators right now. Anush Saeed, Julia Sarada. I'm just butchering all these names. Thank you, Shauna, for giving me the hardest names. Felicitia Salah, Mary Cat McDevitt. Wow, I butchered all of those. Amazing. So good.
So what I'm doing now is I'm just adding some of those mock-ups to kind of finish this off. And it would be a great way to, like if you want to show a client like a bit of a mood board as to where they can take the brand, like how they can see the logo in context. And if they choose to decide to make mugs or have a piece of signage on the wall rather than an actual sign that's hanging off something, this gives them a bit of an idea of like how to take it. Usually if we had a project like this, we would build out these assets, to make sure that the client has everything that they need, and like really develop a scope of work before we get into, after we do a discovery session, something like that. But this is a good way to kind of show you guys how you could piece it together, from that deck to sketches to building the logo to finding a color palette and then seeing how it all plays together.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So we've got about 10 minutes left. So where do you think we can get in the next 10 minutes? And what are your kind of goals?
Yep. So I'm just going to finish this up, and then we will close out, and then we can kind of look at everything as a whole and just kind of run through everything and see how this kind of came together. Again, like I want people to look at this as a starting point rather than like a absolute end result, but like a really good starting point to build on something. So if you had an idea and you're like, well, how do I start this? This can kind of give you a really good idea. You know what? I'm not, because we only have 10 minutes left. I'm not going to do that.
Robert Stewart says, my top designers and design firms are Lincoln Design, Farm Design of the Future, John Brabs. That's so funny. When I was in Portland, I lived right next to the Lincoln Design crew. Met their Dan, I think is the owner. A bunch of the guys out there are super rad and talented. They've got a crazy defined aesthetic. If you love skateboard graphics and things like that, check out Lincoln Design. Monograph&Co. They are amazing. Yeah, just super talented crew. Super nice as well.
Yeah, I really like farm design too, actually. Lots of inspo there. They're also in the food beverage space, I believe. So I think they're in Santa Monica, California, or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
I think so. I don't know for sure.
I'm not familiar with their work.
I don't know if they're based out there. I think they're somewhere in the US.
Their website is down if it's farmdesign.net, which is a bummer.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah. Sometimes it's like your website's up doing its thing, and then as soon as somebody of significance wants to look at your work, it's like something happens, and you're like, but it works every other day of the week when nobody, hardly anybody's in there.
Yeah, totally. Actually, I've seen their work on Behance. It's funny. Thirstcraft, if you're into beverage and packaging, and then Hungercraft is our two brand design firms. They're sister agencies essentially in London that do really good kind of packaging and beverage hospitality stuff.
That's great.
As Budavel said, we do have about 10 minutes left, really a little bit less than that, probably like 8 minutes now.
Okay,
but if you have questions, definitely ask them. This is kind of your last chance to get all your hopes and dreams answered. Jorge says, what was the name again? Lincoln Design Co. if you like skateboard graphics, Farm Design if you like some food, beverage, packaging, hospitality stuff, Thirstcraft and Hungercraft as well. Yeah, Lincoln Design Co. is what you're looking for, Jorge.
So I'm just going to round it off by just literally doing a closeout page to this. Yeah. Sorry, how many minutes do we have left? Just a few, right?
We have about like 7 minutes left.
Okay, 7 minutes. That's not bad. That'll give me some time.
Yeah, Robert says Lincoln is a well-rounded team with illustrators and designers. Each one does their job well. Yeah, they do. They're incredible. Especially, they're able to kind of pick each other's styles up really quickly, also, which is kind of crazy. But if you've seen like Birdhouse skateboards, Nerf, Nike, Monster Truck, Hot Wheels, they've done all that kind of design, or a lot of it. So even I think some toy machine stuff maybe, and I don't know, a bunch of other skateboard brands. So if you like skateboard stuff, check them out. You'll probably be really familiar with the work without realizing it. It says, I see they've got quite a clientele. Yes, they do. They have a very defined aesthetic, and they have a very incredible clientele list. I know we got about 4 minutes left. I'll let
Okay.
you kind of tidy this up, and then we
Yep.
can go through all the goodies that you've worked on for the last 2 days.
Absolutely. Just going to finish this one up real quick, and then we can go through it.
It's a great idea. And as Val mentioned in chat, I know we're only a couple minutes left, but stay around for the XD Daily Creative Challenge. We'll be starting momentarily, so that's super exciting.
Okay, so it's going to do a quick save, and then we can kind of take a look at what we have.
Yeah, let's do that. That's a great idea. So we got 3 minutes left, so let's run through where we started yesterday and how we got to where we are really quickly.
Awesome. Okay, so yesterday we started with the deck of what 9-Bar Coffee actually is. So who we are, taking a look at 9-Bar, looking at our goals, and then we went into who we are for, the audience and the tone of voice. So you looked at these lists, which gave us a good idea. And then we also took a look at a customer profile, a little bit of an in-depth look at who we're serving and why. And then we went into some imagery, both architecture and some branding and design elements to give us inspiration. And then from there, we took a bunch of sketches and we came up with a few logo ideas. Now, I already, based on what we did in our presentation deck, I chose a bunch of typefaces that I felt would really reflect a lot of the inspiration that we found. And we also had a color palette, which the majority of us chose this red palette down here, which was derived from a lot of the images that we found. And then we came up with a bunch of logos, which I then refined and made it easy for us to see. And after a bit of a poll, we decided that we were going to go with this one down here. So from there, we decided to apply a bunch of mockups and see how this was going to come together. And so here's a look at what the identity is starting to look at as it takes shape. So we can see we have the logo here. I like to put the logo both on the black and white background. It's good to help the client see that sense of contrast. We also came up with a secondary logo, which would be a great stamp for the coffee or any sort of packaging ideas. We have our color palette. We have our primary and secondary typeface. And then we also decided to look at how this is going to translate on to a lot of the print materials and signage and things like that, and where you can actually take the brand. Yeah, so that's kind of how we have it now, but you can kind of take a look and see that these are the starting points of where you can actually expand onto things and really take it further. You want to spend a lot more time perfecting the nitty and gritty, but this can give you a foundation that you can build upon. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think you absolutely nailed the timeline right on the buzzer. And so I think it's super exciting. Make sure that if you want to follow more of Sophia's work, that you check her out on behance.net/monograph&Co. And then you can link to her website and her Instagram and all that good stuff as well. But we are out of time today, but stick around for the XD Daily Creative Challenge, and we will see everyone soon. So thank you so much, Sophia. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right, bye everyone.